So you want to get into Scotch. Maybe you're a bourbon drinker and you want to know what's the fuss about single malt whiskey. Or you never really had brown liquor before and you want to give it a try. Well, in today's video, I'm going to give you my recommendations on bottles that will help a beginner home in on the flavor profile that they would like without killing your bank account. I'm Leanne, and this is Scotch on the Bayou, where we explore the wonders of Scotch whiskey along with the flavor of life in Louisiana. Glad you're here today because we're going to talk about Scotches for those who are just beginning their journey into single malts. And I got to tell you, this is my number one question I'm always asked. Friends of mine who know that I am into Scotch whiskey are always asking me, what bottle should I buy? What should I start with? And the fact of the matter is, there are many choices. But I pulled down about 7 to 8 with a bonus selections that I would put in front of any of my friends who were wanting to try Scotch. So know that I had 2 main criteria about this. And that is, number 1, it had to be available. These are all core range expressions, meaning they are the core offerings from any producer or distiller. And you should be able to actually find them on a shelf at your local liquor store or retailer. The other thing the second criteria, they have to be a value. They need to be a good value for the money. So they're at a reasonable price. And I think priced well for the value and the quality that you get out of the spirit. One other thing you need to know, all of these choices are on my bar. I keep them because they're really good. It's not just for this video, it's to actually serve for us to have a nice dram for my husband, me, friends that come over. These are the drams that I serve my friends. And at the end of this video, I have a quick tip, a little lagniappe, a little something extra on how you can save some dollars before you commit to one of these bottles. So to start off our list is Glenmorangie, the original, a 10-year-old from the Highlands. This is a fantastic value. It's priced between $35, $40, $45 depending on where you are. We're a little higher here in South Louisiana, maybe 5 to 10% higher than most folks. But this you can find everywhere. It's a great pick in a restaurant or a bar because it's going to be on that shelf. So this expression has actually been matured in ex-bourbon barrels, first fill and second fill, for 10 years. I love Highlands because they're the base of Scotch. They're the backbone of Scotch, if you will. This expression is soft, pretty mellow, kind of creamy. You're gonna get some citrus and honey on the nose, and a little bit of that follows through on the taste. But you're gonna get a little bit of fruitiness too. And the finish, it's kind of medium, slides right out. It's very satisfying, with a little cinnamon kick at the end. It's a great choice. For our second choice, we're going to stay in the Highlands. And again, at 43% is Old Pulteney 12, a 12-year-old maritime bourbon-matured Scotch. Now, Old Pulteney is a real favorite of mine, and I always have this to give you an example. This is the backup bottle because this one's looking pretty empty. And that's for a reason, because it's really good. It is bourbon matured, just like the Glenmorangie. It has 2 more years on it though, for 12 years. And because it sits literally on a cliff for those 12 years overlooking the sea on the northeast border of Scotland, it pulls in salt. So it's got this briny, salty kind of tone to it. And it is truly one of my favorites. And I have actually gotten quite a few of my bourbon friends here in Baton Rouge hooked on Old Pulteney 12. But this particular one is a great value. It's about $45, depending on where you are. But for me, this is quintessential Scotch. This is what Scotch is supposed to be. And from there, there's different expressions that have different types of maturation, but the building block upon all of that is usually a bourbon-based Scotch whiskey. And so this one, you're going to get honey notes, again, vanilla. It's got a little bit of an oily mouthfeel to it, slight lemongrass type finish, a little bit of kick at the end. But at 43%, it's not too hot. It's very easy sipper. And of course, always on my bar, and welcome to pour a dram for any friend that wants to try it. So next up on our list, we're going a little sweeter. And that would be with GlenDronach 12. So again, 12 years. This GlenDronach, again a Highland, but most of us kind of think of it as a Speyside. Speyside being the part within the Highlands where almost half of all distilleries are actually in Speyside. But they're also known in that area to be heavily sherry matured expressions. So that's kind of their shtick, and they do it very, very well. And what does that mean? Well, instead of bourbon casks, sherry casks are used. So you're gonna get a lot of those winey Christmas spice, nutmeg, cinnamon, plums, stewed fruit, just delicious maturation elements that go into the whiskey. So this one is, again, 12 years, and it was actually matured into different types of sherry casks. One was Pedro Jimenez, and the other was Oloroso. So you're having different levels of sweetness between the two. Actually, most of my bourbon buddies go for this right off. It hits their sweetness level. They like the sweet from the corn in a bourbon, and now they're going to go, and once they taste this, they decide they kind of like Scotch. If you've got some other ideas, leave a comment below and a suggestion you might have for a beginning Scotch. And the next selection is Quinta Reuben 14, again by Glenmorangie. This is actually matured again in 10 years, just as it had before in the original with ex-bourbon barrels. But then, wait, they put it in port barrels, so port wine barrels, to soak up all that red winey sweetness and goodness. So this particular one I just rave about because it's so economical. I won't say cheap, economical. Cheap to me means not good quality. This is spectacular quality. And I have a bottle here and I have one at the camp. And in my area, it's $45 for a 14-year-old expression. It's just crazy to me. Don't tell Glenmorangie that, but anyway. So, really do love this bottle because it's just easy to drink. Again, it's at 46% ABV, so we went up a little bit. And it's non-chill filtered. You get those kind of red tannin-y notes, dryness from the red wine, sweetness on a little higher level. It's not so overly port that you feel like you're drinking wine that had been thrown into whiskey. Just some really nice notes. And again, great choice for those who are bourbon drinkers or someone who wants a sweeter. Maybe you have a friend who likes mixed cocktails or like a margarita. I would give them this because it has a little bit more of the sweetness to it, and it's always a winner in our house. The next three selections are all peated. Don't be scared, it's gonna be fine. But this is where a lot of people go, yeah, no, I'm out of here. No, hang on. Stay with me and keep an open mind when we're talking about peated whiskeys. These three come from 3 different regions in Scotland. And that means the peat that's used to flavor the malt is from 3 different types of peat. Peated whiskeys are lovely and can be very delicate, or they can be quite brutal, but let's talk. And we're gonna go over these that are great for beginners. Now, if you've never had Scotch before, I would suggest that you run through the ones that we've already discussed, the bourbon and the sherry and the port, all those maturations before you get to the peat. Now, believe me, I have friends who started with peat right away and absolutely love it. Great. But if you're scared about it, try some of the others first, and then let's get into the peat. And these three are going to graduate in the level of peatiness, or the ppm of the peat in it. They come from 3 different regions of Scotland, and that means the peat in each of those regions is very different. So that's going to affect how the malt tastes. So first up is Kilkerran 12. This is from Campbelltown. So the Campbelltown region only has 3 distilleries. It used to have 30 something. But this is a lighter peated whiskey, and you're really going to feel more char or smoke than you will earthiness of the peat. This particular one is at 46%, which is 92 proof. It's about $70 a bottle, again 12 years old. It's been matured 70% in bourbon and 30% in sherry. So you have the base of that vanilla and kind of honey going on with the malt and oakiness, and then you have just a dash of that sweetness from the sherry. This is a really big favorite, and I actually took it to a bottle share of our bourbon group. And again, I had some converts because, what do you mean? This is peat. Yes, it's peat. So the ppm of this version is about 12 ppm. So it's pretty light, 0 to 12, 12 is not much. So this is a great expression to dip your toe into the world of peat. You're going to get the malt, the vanilla, a little bit of dried sweet fruit on it, and kind of a gingery spice towards the end, medium finish. It's a really great selection. Next on our peat list is Talisker 10. Talisker 10 is technically a Highland, but I think it is an island. It comes from the Isle of Skye. Island region is not necessarily sanctioned by the SWA, but most of us say it's an island. They have a different characteristic. I think they should be recognized. Don't get me started. Anyway, so this is at 45.8, so knocking on the door of 46, much like the last one. It's about $80 in my area, and it has a good chunk more of a smoky flavor. I wouldn't say the earthiness of peat, but more of a smoke flavor. This is 18 to 22 ppm, where the Kilkerran was 12. So that gives you a little bit more jump in the peat, right? You definitely can smell it as it comes off into your glass after you pour it. You're gonna get hints of salt. Again, it's sitting right on the sea. Chocolate notes, a little black pepper on there. It's almost as if you can just absorb the coastal air into this earthiness with a layer of fruity sweetness, and it's just very nice. Faint peat, good amount of smoke, hints of black pepper and sweetness. Very, very good dram. And our third choice for peated whiskeys to start off with is Ardbeg 10. Okay, folks, it's from Islay. It's time to go big or go home. This is not a gentle dram. This is not an ease into kind of, this is a, hey, there's a swimming pool, I'm jumping in with both feet into a sea of Islay peated loveliness. I kind of like this bottle, can you tell? So this one again is at 46%, and it's around 50 bucks most every place you can find it. And you may need some intestinal fortitude to get through it, but I challenge you to do so because it's that good. We're gonna ramp up the ppm really high here compared to the other two, at least. where we had 12 ppm on the Kilkerran and about 22 on the Talisker. This is between 55 and 65 ppm, so we're jumping up there. And you're going to get more of the peat in there as opposed to just smoke. And that peat is going to pull in some medicinal notes for some. I don't get the medicinal as much as some people do, but you're going to get a little bit of the iodine and things like that. So the peat and the smoke are going to be intertwined with some vanillas and stewed fruits. It's not overtly sweet, but it's under the radar of the smoke, if you will. It's balanced, so it's sitting there kind of playing back and forth. It's not like one sip is sweet and one sip is smoky. It's all going to be in there, but you kind of feel how the layers are falling out in that dram. For some, they definitely do get the medicinal notes. I don't particularly get that. I get more of a roasted coffee with a little bit of chocolate and a little astringent taste towards the end, and the finish just hangs on. It's long, it's full, and it's quite satisfying. So those 7 have all been single malt scotches, meaning they were all made at one single distillery. Of course, completely malt, but one distillery is where the single comes into. Our 8th choice, our lagniappe choice, is a blend. And it's a blended malt, meaning it's single malts that are blended together. And it is Monkey Shoulder. So Monkey Shoulder is a blend of 3 different single malts from Kinninvie, the Balvenie, and Glenfiddich. All really great on their own. Put them together in a vatted in different batches and you've got Monkey Shoulder. And it's perfect for cocktails. You can drink it neat. You can throw it on ice. You can do all kinds of things with it. It's $28 to $35 depending on where you are. Super value on that, 43%. And you get this kind of a sweetbread, creamy vanilla on the nose, a little bit of custard, butterscotch custard on the taste. It's a little spicy on the end, and it's just very nice and pleasant. And it's such a great deal at that price point. So here's the lagniappe for today. The little something extra. If you're not ready to commit to a bottle, maybe you're not so sold on what peat would be, take my advice on this one thing. Find yourself a nice whiskey bar and go try a dram, just the one glass. Many whiskey bars will even have a half price night to where you can say, okay, this is the list. I think I do want to try that Talisker. Peat and salt and caramel. That sounds pretty tasty. But you don't want to lay out $70 for the bottle. Go try it at a whiskey bar. Take your time with it. I believe that the environment has an effect on how you take in that dram, so give yourself some time, give the dram some time, and enjoy it. So all of these whiskeys, they're just the beginning. There's so many choices out there, and there is something for everyone's taste. So talk to your friends, your whiskey buddies, and get recommendations from them. And let me know if you've had any of these and what you like about them if you have. And if you have any other suggestions that would make a great beginner scotch, leave that in the comments as well. I hope you found some value out of this video, got some ideas. If you're new to your Scotch journey, please consider liking, subscribing, joining me for the next time we get together, and Slàinte, y'all.